Holidays, touring parks have seen both a change in demographic of their customers as well as their behaviours. So what I'm going to do over the next sort of 25 minutes in this webinar is really focus on how some of those behaviours have changed, why marketing next year might perhaps need to be slightly different. Don't worry, we're going to, a copy of the slides is coming out to everybody on the session. So if you do miss any bits, then we'll get those out to you. But I am just going to share my screen so that everybody can see that, and hopefully you guys can see that. So I would just like to take you back, skip the slide there, to the last webinar where the findings from the research commissioned by Willerby were presented. And there's some great insight that's come out of that report. If you've not had a chance to have a look at it, please do go and have a look at it, because really it paints a real positive picture for next year. And despite the disruptions of COVID, there really is a positive outlook for 2021. Willerby highlight the fact that there's going to be strong demand for caravan holiday parks. There's definitely a demand shift towards domestic holidays. Some of that might change, as was mentioned. Now we have the vaccine rollout, but it's likely that staycations will be big again next year. And I think if the experience of last summer is repeated, we're going to see more new customers wanting to go on camping and caravan holidays. We're also going to see a new generation of owner. Clearly, people will be thinking of their pockets next year, and they might not have as much to spend. But we're also seeing that digital is very much leading the way as people, as really the place people go to do their research. And that's why we're focusing on that this morning. I also wanted to just talk about the Visit Britain sentiment survey, because this is something, again, if you haven't seen it, it's published every week. Is another useful set of insights, which really gives us the latest understanding of how people are feeling towards taking trips in the future. And this is just one slide from a whole weekly, I think it's something like 20+ page report. And I would encourage you to keep an eye on the data in it. Lots of useful information, particularly around how customers are feeling and where their major concerns lie. And you can see, highlighted within this one slide, that things like social distancing, booking incentives, cleanliness measures, guests and staff interventions are all key concerns that your customers see as being essential for their next holiday. So putting all of that insight together, we can start to paint a picture of your customers in 2021. So what are people going to be like? What are your customers going to be like next year? Understandably, the economic fallout from COVID is having a significant effect on the way people are going to plan their holidays. Many of them will be cutting back on budgets. They may be looking at cutting the cost of their holidays. They might be finding cheaper destinations. It also means that they could be cutting the amount they spend on park with things like food, dining, and activities. Holidaymakers are likely to make more shorter trips, perhaps stay more local, as people are happier to go to places that they know. They're also likely to be much shorter booking windows. People will be booking more last minute, leaving it later to make a final decision about where they go on holiday. And I think we're also likely to see a mix of people, those that perceive there is still a risk. So these are the vulnerable and the cautious that appreciate the sensitivities of what is the new normal. And then we've got the opposite end of the scale. We've got the gung-hos who are not stressed by the pandemic and simply value their freedom more than the well-being of others. It's interesting that the top trend that is highlighted by the Visit Britain Sentiment Survey is that customers want flexibility and they want help to avoid any losses if they need to cancel. They want flexible bookings with flexible refunds or rebooking options. And I came across another piece of research by a company called Focusrite that highlighted the fact that huge numbers of people will be looking for that reassurance during the research phase of choosing a holiday. So this is the time when people are searching on Google, before they've even hit that book now button, they want to understand what they can expect from their holiday providers. And on the screen here, you can see just some of the things that they highlight as being important to them. So for example, what are the new cleaning and sanitation procedures? How much social distancing is still going to be in place when they come on holiday next year? And they definitely want to understand the refund options and what they need to do if they need to cancel or change a booking. And I think that's where there is a huge opportunity for you as park owners to step in and provide that help to your guests and homeowners. This is about helping them to understand how their holidays might be different next year and how you are going to help them keep them safe, make them feel comfortable when they come to your parks. We all know that holidaymakers are very resilient, and whilst it's difficult to travel right now for consumers, they're all chomping at the bit to get out there and enjoy a holiday. You'll be aware that before the pandemic happened, going on holiday or taking a short break was all about having those new experiences. And it's fair to say that people will want to get back to doing new and exciting things next year as well. So that desire is not going to change. It's really your job as park owners to work out how to respond to those challenges of delivering those new experiences on your parks and also making it safe and easy for your customers. So I've pulled a few ideas, some practical tips that I hope will be useful to prepare yourself for next season. And I'll just run through those now. We all know that the world is now a very different place. So we really have got to set those expectations early. First and foremost, your potential guests, your existing customers, they want to know that your park is open. So when you open the doors, the first thing they want to do is they want to know if you're open. Then they want to know more information about your facilities. What about the shared toilet blocks? Is your restaurant open? Is the swimming pool open? What about the entertainment and activities? How are they going to work next year? All of this information is essential to your guests. So things like Google My Business. For those of you that perhaps haven't used your Google My Business profiles, I would really encourage you to make sure you have full management of those and make sure the information is bang up to date, because that's the first thing that will appear in Google when people search for your park. Your website is the obvious other place to focus on, but really try and make sure that you go into all of the possible channels that consumers are looking at and make sure that that information is up to date. I think consumers are even more likely to go directly to your website when they're searching, because they know that that is the primary source of the key information. So make sure that that information is kept up to date throughout next season. The second thing that the research highlights is that people definitely want to know what the new rules are for going on holiday, as well as whether your park is clean and safe. So, obviously displaying the "we're good to go" certificates are really important, but I think there's going to be a point next year where people just expect those things to be in place. What your guests and homeowners want right now is their happy place. It's a place to escape to. It's a holiday where they can have new experiences, and your messaging should really go beyond that of, we're secure and clean. So think about what makes you different, what makes you special, what makes your park, what sets your park apart from others and makes you that great place to stay. I know down here in Dorset, there were a lot of pop-up campsites in farmers' fields last year. So how can you demonstrate why your facilities are so much better than those and make sure that people come to you instead of them? But also think beyond your park. What about the local attractions and the things to do? Are there more outdoor experiences that feel COVID safe for people to go to? And if there are, how can you highlight those to your guests and potential guests too? And don't forget that people are clamoring for new experiences. So here's your opportunity to engage with them through compelling, creative, digital content and stories. And I also think there will be a deeper focus on mental health and well-being. So here's an opportunity for parks that have the facilities. So, highlighting their spas, their gyms, on-site activities that promote guests' well-being and offer those sorts of packages. The sentiment research highlights that there is a good section of the population that are still apprehensive about travel. And if they do travel, they might not travel too far. So I think here, this is about knowing your past guests. How can you reach out to them? These people are probably the most likely people to come back to your park first and foremost. Predictably, people are more comfortable traveling to places they've been to before. People know what to expect. They trust you and your staff to provide that safe holiday experience. So this is about trawling through your booking system, your CRM systems, and then finding ways to connect with past guests. Maybe look to those guests that are local first before contacting others. Things like email marketing, that's the obvious tool to use here. Customers will want to hear from you directly. Maybe a personalized email from you as the park owner, for instance. That's the kind of thing that's going to build trust with new and existing guests. But also look at things like retargeting, the kind of retargeting ads that you can use on Google and the social platforms. These are great tools to connect with people that have already looked at your website or booked online. And I was talking to one of our park clients only this week, and I know that a lot of parks will be holding monies for future bookings. So I think it's going to be important for you as owners to really remain transparent. So think about how you can demonstrate that sense of duty and priority to those that have already booked with you for next year. That's about looking after your existing customers. So back to the research, and tip number 4, this is probably the most important, but I recognise that this is also a really tough one, especially for a lot of holiday parks that are not used to having this level of flexibility with their bookings. But as we see from the research, this is really important to emphasise that flexibility right now. This is more about having empathy for your customer and the situations that they may be in. And I think, as well as displaying, the book of confidence, etc. I think there's opportunities for you to really take a creative approach to this. Trying to make sure that your customers have confidence to actually make that booking. For example, perhaps there's opportunities to extend the flexibility if they booked directly with you rather than through an OTA. But I'll talk about that one a little bit later. Tip number 5, this is not just COVID related, but is really an indication of where the world is going now. So, one of the things to recognize is that the world is moving digital. I think we all knew that, but what we've seen is a real acceleration of digital engagement from your customers, particularly over the last 9 months of the pandemic. This year, we've seen dramatic change in people using digital services. They're using websites more, they're on social more, they're downloading apps, they're listening to podcasts, they're on Zoom webinars like we are this morning. So your guests, your customers are now spending more time online, and their expectations of those digital experiences has never been higher. And I think this opens up a whole range of new opportunities across lots of different technologies and platforms. But it also means that you, as a park, have to get the fundamentals right. Your website, your booking systems need to be easy, they need to work. Pre-COVID, when people were searching for holidays, we were seeing lots of people jumping between searching on mobile and then getting their laptops out to actually book online. What we're seeing now is a dramatic increase in people actually continuing the booking process all the way through and making that purchase on their smartphones. This is a slide from one of our park clients, but it's from September, so September just gone. And it highlights the devices that were used for the booking thank you page. So if you imagine somebody's gone all the way through the booking process and they've reached the confirmation page. And you can see here that 60% of all traffic and confirmed bookings were done on mobile. And that's a dramatic increase of 25% on last year. So I would really encourage you to grab your smartphone, grab your mobile, and actually go onto your own booking systems and try it out. Make sure it works. I've had a couple of experiences, not parks, but actually a local estate agents where it's actually been really difficult. The one company that I was looking at, they use live chat, the instant messaging services as part of their website. And on desktop, it's absolutely fine. But on mobile, unfortunately, the live chat obscured the search and the book now button. So it was nigh on impossible to get any further. But I would only have found that out by actually doing it on, trying it out on a mobile first. As well as more bookings on mobile, we're going to see lots more desire for hands-free contact. I know some of you are already doing table and restaurant bookings, but food ordering, contactless payments, contactless check-in and check-outs on smartphone devices, they're all things that your customers, your guests are used to using now. And we've seen a dramatic increase in app usage over lockdown. And it looks like that trend is set to continue at pace. You know, having a park app could be a great way to deliver information to your guests without them having to contact your reception team, or perhaps, you know, even provide concierge style services to your homeowners through something like a homeowners portal. Push notifications, these are a key component of apps, and they are the perfect tool to engage with different segments of your customers when they're on your park. So being able to send a message to your guests whilst they're on your park and let them know about special offers, maybe drive them through to sales of takeaways or activities. So something to have a think about. And I think what we saw over lockdown with the test and trace rollout is the QR code finally came of age. And I think this is brilliant because actually we now found a real use for them. And I think now that they're out there, people know how to use them. And they're a great tool for driving people to things like contactless menus, park information. You can use them around your park, in venues, etc. You can brand them, you can display them in different shapes, you can have different colors in them, all sorts of ways. So this is a great opportunity, I think, to get creative with QR codes on your park in the future. And here's another area where I think it's critical to focus, and this is about trying to get people to book directly on your website. I know a lot of you use third-party booking systems and OTAs, but this is about how you can present that all-important information across all of your booking channels and really prepare that customer before they come to your website, because they will go on PitchUp, they will go on booking.com, and then they will go to your website to check whether they're getting the best deal. So if you are using third-party websites and OTAs, then I really would encourage you to think how you can manage those effectively. How can you maximize the bookings and also your revenue? And perhaps think about what extra value or what extra incentive, maybe it's better terms you can offer a customer by booking on your website rather than doing it on an OTA. This next tip is all about connecting creatively with your guests and ensuring that you deliver the messages that matter to them. So this is about using your websites, using your social media. For example, you know, if you've got great kids activity schedule, then show images of smaller groups of children and staff in the appropriate PPE, if that is still the case when we get there next summer. It's about getting people to remember those experiences, but that you're also doing it in a super safe way. And with more guests looking for perhaps their first holiday since lockdown, it's really important to focus your digital attention on, you know, what we call the Great British Staycation. Hopefully we'll get another lovely summer like we did last year. And there's going to be plenty of people that won't travel that far and could easily live within a short drive to your park. So maybe think about segmenting your database, your booking systems to target those that live local first. And searches for things like staycation ideas, camping and caravan ideas. Those are all search terms that rose rapidly in the season last year. And it's likely to do the same next year. So look at ways in which you can add and build that kind of content, build that into your content strategies for your website and social media. Interesting one here is that near me searches, so campsites near me, showed some of the biggest growth. I was astonished to see Google showing 90,000 searches a month for campsites near me going forward last year. So again, this highlights the importance of your local SEO and using your Google My Business profiles. We know that holiday experiences are special. You thrive on delivering the best experiences for your guests, and a lot of your guests and homeowners thrive on that sense of community with your park. We also know that there's going to be a lot of first-time campers and possibly homeowners next year. So really, here's your opportunity to welcome those new people and really develop that strong community bond with your park next year. Use your blogs, use your social, tell those feel-good stories from your staff and other guests, and really make your park feel like that happy place where your guests want to really picture themselves at when they come and stay with you in the future. So just to summarize, I'm going to come back to the picture here. Yes, the world is going to be unpredictable next year, which means that consumer behavior is likely to remain unpredictable too. So, my biggest tip is probably take the learnings from the likes of Willerby, Visit Britain. No doubt BH and HPA will be pushing out additional insights later on in the year, and really look at those trends and see how you can use that insight to stay ahead. Without doubt, health, sanitisation practices, they're all going to remain top of mind for consumers permanently, I think. But people want to know about your flexible booking options, your cancellation policies. Digital adoption is going to continue to accelerate. And I think that really could be a key differentiator for parks that invest in it now. And in particular, this is about leveraging the power and the capabilities of the smartphone that people have in their pockets. Self-service, e-commerce, we've seen years of progress in just simply the matter of months during lockdown. And I think those two things will be core to park businesses of the future. Consumers are going to want to prefer touchless check-ins, check-outs, and they are going to be looking at digital support through the devices of their choice. So that's the end of my session. I just want to say thank you everyone for listening. Just like to wish you all a great Christmas, and no doubt we're in for a great season next year, so all the best for 2021.